Let's take our seats, please. And we'll start the meeting, the Santa Barbara City Council meeting of April 24th, 2018. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Friedman. Here. Councilmember Dominguez. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Rouse. Here. Councilmember Hart. Here. Councilmember Sneddon.
Here.
Mayor Murillo.
Here. Ceremonial
Item number 1, subject Arbor Day, April 24, 2018.
Great, welcome. I'm so glad you're all here for this. We have a proclamation declaring April 24th Arbor Day. Whereas Arbor Day observances are held in California and in the city of Santa Barbara throughout the months of March and April, and whereas National Arbor Day is observed the last Friday of April, and whereas the city of Santa Barbara has been designated a Tree City USA for 38 years by the National Arbor Day Foundation, and whereas the city of Santa Barbara is proud of its more than 100 years of horticultural heritage and the health and diversity of its urban forest, and whereas the city of Santa Barbara maintains more than 60,000 open space park and street trees and recognizes the importance of professional tree care and annual tree planting programs to sustain a livable community. And whereas Santa Barbara Beautiful contributes to the health of the city's urban forest through support for the street tree planting program, and whereas the city of Santa Barbara and Santa Barbara Beautiful collaborate with local schools to plant trees in observance of Arbor Day, now therefore I, Mayor Kathy Murillo, do hereby proclaim April 24th as 2018 as Arbor Day in the city of Santa Barbara and recognize the value that trees provide in enhancing the quality of our lives. Thank you. It's beautiful. There you go. And you're welcome to say a few words, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Santa Barbara Beautiful is pleased to continue the tradition of tree planting at local schools to celebrate Arbor Day. This year we have 4 schools: Marymount, Hope, Cold Spring, Montecito Union. We are also continuing the book donations tradition to all local schools, elementary and secondary, in the Santa Barbara area, including the public libraries. This year's elementary book selection is an award-winning book, locally published, with a local author, Janet Lucy, local illustrator, Colleen McCarthy Evans. It's called The 3 Sunflowers. The secondary school book is called Bringing Nature Home. Those will go to all the secondary, that is the junior high, middle school, and high schools in Santa Barbara, and the local school libraries, public libraries. As a gift from our author and illustrator, they would like to gift the mayor and the city council. And I'm take it away. Do you have the, oh, we have the seed packets. And they were illustrated by the illustrator, and guess how many seeds are inside? 3 sunflower seeds. So we want to thank you, and be sure to look for our flags flying along State Street starting tomorrow for 1 week. Happy Arbor Day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very good. Madam City Administrator, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we are going to be removing item 17 and scheduling that for a later date.
Okay. And for people who might be here for that, that's the update of our local coastal plan. So if you're here for that today, we're rescheduling that. And if you have questions, you can ask Ms. Antle. Thanks. So we're moving on to the public comment. I got my seeds. Kenneth Locke, you're first. You have 2 minutes. You'll be followed by Phil Walker and Paulina Kahn after that. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Kenneth Locke. Just like trees, how serious does Santa Barbara take exercise? And I've been here in this community for about 20 years, working on a new teaching method for tennis that actually teaches tennis as a mind-body exercise, a spiritual and holistic health practice. And I take exercise pretty serious. And I've been raised up as a kind of a teacher healer now for kind of like the 21st century in relation to kind of our understanding and awareness of the connection between mental health and physical health, and the importance, the necessity of that for our children. I'll probably go before the school board tonight and kind of promote exercise. And it turns out that you're either exercising, or the option that we've had historically is sports. And I'm sorry to say that they are completely opposed to each other. I'm hoping that through my effort we can actually inspire some of the kids to kind of make an venture into exercise science, where they understand, the mind-body connection, what it means to be holistically healthy, ambidextrous. And I'm bringing that over to where we understand tennis as a ambidextrous exercise. And the idea that right now, our, say the school or educational system is pretty much exclusively pushing sports and have like completely neglected exercise. So I just want to turn the light on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Walker, come on up. Paulina Kahn will be after you. Anna Marie Gott after her. And then Mark Schneider? Sheridan. Thanks. Mr. Walker, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. I second Arbor Day, firmly supported. I worked for Griffin Tree and Landscape in the early to mid-'70s. The trees have been under a lot of stress in the city itself, this whole area of the South Coast, for a number of years now. So it behooves the homeowners, property owners, even renters, to take a look at your trees, especially out in the parking medians. And if you notice any irregularities in the leaf drop or anything else, give City Parks, Arbor Department, Tree Department a call, and sometime they'll be able to get out and assess it. But I see a lot of long-term drought affecting the tree canopies around town. And I think Gene Tyburn noted it recently in the Montecito Journal too. One other quick thing, the parking medians. I was walking to the Earth Day celebration Sunday afternoon, fairly late, but the growth and sort of the obstructions on parking medians today are just things were planted in the the middle part of the drought early on. Things have grown up and they need to be trimmed back so at least you can get out the car door and not pop your ankle too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Paulina Kahn?
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and City Council. My name is Paulina Kahn. I live in Mission Canyon. I belong to a group that's called the Coalition to Preserve Mission Canyon, but we also monitor the historic landmark of the Old Mission and Mission Historical Park. 2 weeks ago, a brand new, beautiful wooden sign was put, very large wooden sign was put in Mission Historical Park at the corner of Laguna and East Los Olivos Street. And it looks very nice there, but in driving by, it is now in conflict with a historical wayfinding sign that has the Museum of Natural History on it. So my request is that all agencies, county parks, the roads department, whatever agency is having any work done in any landmark, and Mission Historic Park is a historic landmark, that they be required to go through the Historic Landmarks Commission. I don't know if this sign went through HLC. I get the agendas every other week when they meet, and I did not see it there. That does not mean it didn't go through the urban historian or something like that. But I find now that it looks cluttery. And also the brand new sign is redundant because we already have a sign further up the 400 block of East Los Olivos Street. So I don't know if that one is going to be removed. But we are trying to reduce sign clutter and to make it easier for tourists to see where they're going because they actually see the sign that they want to see. So that's really my only comment, is that I would like to see all agencies, when they are working on a historic landmark, to go through HLC to be sure that even something so innocuous, seemingly so innocuous as the placement of a sign, gets put in the best place. Because if this large sign had been moved 20 feet to the north, there would have been no conflict between the two signs. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Gott? And I see Mr. Gallegos. You have 4 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. The first thing I wanted to bring to everyone's attention is that there's a candidates forum tomorrow night at 7 p.m. to meet the candidates for the 3rd District. It's going to be at Harding School. I've put something up on the monitor, so I don't know if people are actually going to be able to see that online or not if they're watching. But it is at the library at Harding School from 7 o'clock to 7:30. There's going to be a candidate meet and greet, and at 7:30 to 9 o'clock, there's going to be a forum and debate. And it's going to include all of the candidates for the 3rd District, Oscar Gutierrez, Elizabeth Hunter, Ken Rivas, and Michael Vidal. And it would be great if we can get as many West Side residents as possible to come and meet the candidates, because they will be electing someone to replace the mayor now that she has become mayor, and we have an open seat for the 3rd District. The second thing that I wanted to just address is that I was absent last week when the ADUs and covenants was discussed. I'm here today to thank Councilmember Dominguez, Councilmember Sneddon, Councilmember Hart, and Councilmember Friedman for placing the needs of the residents over investors and developers when you voted for covenants in perpetuity, and to ensure that ADUs could not be turned into short-term vacation rentals. You chose to protect residents from speculative investors who see ADUs as investment tools simply to increase their revenue at the expense of hardworking residents of our city. You chose to have the primary owner live on site and to ensure that these homes would not be turned into vacation rentals. On the other hand, the mayor and Councilmember Rouse voted against a covenant in perpetuity. Councilmember Rouse, you voted against protecting your neighbors from speculative investors who see ADUs as investment tools. They want to cash in on vacation rentals and student housing on the Mesa. You voted against your neighbors, and you voted against renters who need lower cost housing. Mayor Murillo, you voted against residents who chose to vote for you for mayor, believing that you would put their needs over developers and speculative investors. You voted against your vote against residents does not surprise me. You have kicked the can down the road and pushed any requirements to collect impact fees or require inclusionary housing for AUD projects again and again. You have supported AUD program at any cost. Even after the city's own expert has told you that for every 100 AUD market rate units that are built, the city's need for lower cost housing increases by 25 to 27 units, even as affordable homes are bulldozed or rehab to build market rate units. You both have a second chance to vote for residents and your neighbors when it comes up for a second time. I urge both of you to choose residents over investors and developers who regard our neighborhood cities as just a place to increase their wealth rather than a place for our residents to live. Thank you.
Mr. Sheridan, you're next, and you're our final speaker.
Thank you. I'm here today before you as a citizen who cares very much about the community we live in. Our homes and neighborhoods help define who we are. Everyone needs a sense of place. My family, friends, and neighbors have many of the same concerns I'm about to outline. I was accused of being a chicken little when it came to your experimental program known as the AUD. Well, my concerns have come to pass, and it's worse than I could even imagine. Did you know the city's policy is to allow non-stop construction 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.? Every day since September of last year, our neighborhood is exhausted with truck and heavy equipment, air compressors, and up to 20 busy workers a day. I now understand that I would have had to appeal the project in order to possibly get any relief. So we endure. While the construction of 22 units are squeezed into a historic neighborhood under the guise of being good for our housing needs, with the advantages of fast-track planning process, reduced parking, and exemptions for setback and open space. Councilmember Rouse is correct when he said our residents should have a reasonable expectation that our neighborhoods will remain intact. I hear staff complain they have much on their plate, and it must be so as the morale of your planning department is poor. They get it from both sides. While the citizens complain and are told that planning bodies and commissions can't look at the cumulative effect of multiple projects adjacent to one another. Is this sound community planning? Finally,
can you finish your thought?
I have 30 more seconds? I came last week and was denied.
I remember. Go ahead. 30 more seconds.
30 more seconds.
Yep.
Finally, I'm going to say some things that some of you don't want to hear. But from the view from my porch, our system is broken. Create a program that fundamentally changes decades of planning principles, and you don't fund the staffing to handle the needs of your planning department. Push new, undefined, sketchy at best exemptions for the boards and commissions to regulate. They have few tools to handle it. In closing, your ABR is a swamp. The chair has been on for over 7 years. Perhaps term limits are needed. The chair is arrogant to his fellow board members and staff. He has no shame when it comes to the projects before the board. He needs to go. I know you have training for conflict of interest, but I can't recognize any neutrality or consideration when our citizens go before the ABR. Please review his actions. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mr. Sheridan. That closes public comment, and we'll move on to the consent calendar. You have an item, Madam Clerk?
Item number 2, subject sign committee membership. Recommendation that council adopt by reading of title only a resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara approving revised sign committee sign review guidelines, amending regular sign committee member qualifications, and repealing resolution number 17-036.
Thanks. Will you also read item number 11? We have a request from Mr. Walker on that one.
Item number 11, subject contract for the Gibraltar Dam spillway condition assessment.
Mr. Walker, come on up. You have 2 minutes to make a comment on that item.
Real easy one for me. I've been to Gibraltar numerous times over the years and working for the City Water Resources Division. I actually wrote my senior thesis at UCSB in the 1978. It was published. Dr. Carol Purcell handed me off an excellent subject to be involved with and write, and it would probably qualify as a master's degree today, but that was a high point in my educational career. Okay, and there's throughout the U.S. they're having trouble with the spillways, and that's probably why this condition assessment was, warranted, and especially with the failure of Oroville Dam spillway. But they're finding more and more, a lot of contractors sort of snuck it in. They built the spillways over rubble, construction rubble, mica shale schist, and turns out Gibraltar went online and was constructed in 1914, delayed a little bit for World War I, a couple of years, and was actually put in service in 1920. And they found out the floods of 1922, they had cavitation in the spillway and essentially created a standing wave, much like the Oroville Dam spillway, and it destroyed part of the Gibraltar spillway. So they found when they excavated and did repairs in 1922 and 1923 that contractor rubble, was the concrete spillway was laid over rubble essentially. It was not taken down to bare rock. And the same thing happened, they found at Oroville. So this is a nationwide problem, maybe worldwide. So it's good it's being assessed. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We've had a request from a city council member to pull item 10. Can you read that, please?
Item number 10, subject contract for construction of fiscal year 2018 pavement grind and overlay and design of fiscal year 2019 pavement maintenance.
Was that you, Mr. Rouse? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I was wanting to highlight some of the projects as we started into our Measure C programming and how we schedule it and how we let the public know. So I wonder if I can get Mr. Dewey to come up. I'm seeing him out there in the back row.
Very good.
And my question for Mr. Dewey would be, in terms of how people understand the schedule, how the duration, is there? Can you describe the website or the information where people can find out what's going on in their neighborhood, their district, their street, and how they know what the duration of the project could be? Is it? I assume we are doing that. We had that GIS software or whatever we were using at one point in time to do that. Is that still?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, Councilmember Rouse. I also have Brian Demore here, who has a little bit more information about our systems for getting that information out there. But we are looking at better ways of communicating exactly what we're doing because of the amount of work that we will be doing. So, Brian, do you have more information about the...
Mr. Demore, come on up.
And in addition, I'd like to talk about various neighborhoods like the downtown that have time elements and time restrictions about construction and what those are, so the public can understand what we're doing.
Sure.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, to answer the question about kind of the coordination and what's happening on my street and when, I think the best way for me to explain where we're at right now, I work in engineering, so I'm supporting Jim Dewey with streets operations, but at the same time we're supporting Josh Hagemark, the water resources manager, and both of those divisions have a lot of capital work that's coming down the line in the next couple of years. So there's a very high need to coordinate that work to make sure we're not in each other's way or doing things out of sequence. So first and foremost is getting that information to be most readily available at the staff level, so at least we know who's going to be where and when. And so we've started, and this is just really fresh the last few weeks, trying to work to get that information into GIS so that when Streets is planning their paving program, they can look and see where Water is planning to be with their water main replacement program and vice versa. So as we're able to develop that, we're hoping that we will be able to get to the point where somebody can go online and look on their street segment and see what is planned 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the road.
Well, I know when Pat Kelly and John Wozniak we had these discussions before, and I know that we put that software in place just as rather than going out and doing public outreach to the business community and residential communities and taking staff time doing that. I would encourage that whatever you can do to implement that so the public can jump on and you can just, or we can refer the public to those resources so they know exactly when their street's going to be blocked or are marked off or paved or and in the business districts downtown as well. Yes, and I think we found that having a diversity of outreach is really the best approach. There isn't going to be a one case fits all, but adding this tool will certainly be helpful where we can steer people in that direction. But door hangers, knocking on doors is still sometimes
the best outreach that we can do.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Good. Any other items? Would you read item 6? I'm backtracking a little bit.
Item number 6, subject Integrated Pest Management 2017 Annual Report.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Escobar for preparing this again this year. And for people who don't know, the city tries to reduce or eliminate pesticide use wherever it can in our public parks. I see some children in the audience. We take that very seriously. And we're also a Bee City USA now, and we're looking out for our honeybees. And did you just celebrate 25 years with the city, Mr. Escobar? 30? 25. So you're doing a great job. Thank you so much. And if there's no further objection, we'll waive further reading of the consent calendar, and I'll entertain a motion to move it forward, please. Okay, that sounded like Friedman and Dominguez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, Madam Clerk. Okay, I think we have reports from the Ordinance and Finance Committee meeting. Who goes first? Finance first. Mr. Hart.
The Finance Committee met and reviewed the quarterly investment report and the fiscal agent report. Those both were on our consent calendar items, and the Finance Committee unanimously recommended approval.
Thank you. And Ms. Sneddon.
Thank you. At Ordinance Committee, we approved a vessel speed limit in the Stearns Wharf Y, which is to the, I'm looking at the map up there, to the west, to the east of Stearns Wharf, to 5 nautical miles per hour for safety of paddle boarders and divers in that area. And we also tackled draft charter amendments to implement district elections under the California Voting Rights Act and moving to even year elections and Voter Participation Rights Act. So those recommendations will be coming to council next.
Very good. Thank you. So we're on item 16. Madam Clerk.
Item number 16, subject receipt of donated fire equipment.
Okay. Are we ready? We're ready. Fire Chief Waldron, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. I just wanted to take a few minutes here to recognize so many members of our community that have gone out of their way and been so generous in donating equipment and so many things to our firefighters and our fire department. During the Thomas Fire and the subsequent mud flow, our firefighters were pretty stressed and working a lot. So we had a tremendous outpouring of support from restaurants who brought meals out onto the line for firefighters, brought meals to fire stations, numerous other companies that brought coffee and food and water, et cetera. And so it's deeply touching and for me, and it's just incredible to feel that support from the community. The community went through as much as we did as firefighters. We all kind of went through it together, but the community just stepped up and were so generous to us. And so I wanted to specifically recognize a few companies and nonprofits and individuals. First, I'd like to recognize Direct Relief International. This is a fantastic nonprofit based right here in Santa Barbara. Damon Toffler is right here behind me. He represents Direct Relief today. They donated, among other things, they donated a 4-wheel drive utility vehicle for the fire department, along with a trailer that allows us to have better access into fire areas and mud flow areas. Then he had to outdo himself by donating an F-350 Ford pickup truck. And so that's part of our fleet now, and greatly appreciated because, as I'm sure the council and mayor knows, we're often stressed and often struggle to put together our equipment and have enough equipment and have enough vehicles for our firefighters. So greatly appreciated. Can't say enough. Can't thank Direct Relief enough. Patagonia, another local company, donated 50 pairs of waders and boots. These were used during the mud flow incident and will continue to be used as we go forward. They also donated countless food items and that sort of thing. So, I believe Dean Carter's here today also from Patagonia. The Craig and Susan McCaw Foundation, nonprofit foundation, donated 25 wetsuits, which we're already using in our water rescue program. Greatly appreciated. Billy Toner donated 2 thermal imaging cameras. So these are devices that firefighters use to do searches both in fires and at night on, let's say, for instance, a traffic accident where you might have had an ejected patient from the car and into brush or an area where you might not readily see him. You can use that thermal imager to try to find your victims. And then lastly, I want to give a special shout out to, excuse me, to Marion Mussman. And Marion went into her piggy bank and brought out $4.98, and she put it in an envelope, and she brought it to the firehouse and handed it directly to the firefighters. So just wanted... Just wanted to give her a special thank you, and again to all the members of our community who have stepped up in a tremendous time of need and donated to the fire department. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. You're welcome to come up and say hi to us, Direct Relief, or the young woman, and come up with her parents if she likes. Anyone else who'd like to, you're so welcome to address us. There's a shorter window. Does that? For smaller people.
Are you glad that you were able to help?
You can.
So Miriam's feeling a little shy at this moment.
Sure.
She wants everyone to know that she was really, really happy that she was able to help, and that she wants to grow up to be a firefighter.
Good.
And she's so full of admiration for all the firefighters that helped save us. Anything else? Okay. All right. So thank you all so much. And thank you.
So glad you're here.
So much.
Come on up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You guys are so cute. Chief Waldron, I just want to personally just say thank you so much from Patagonia. This is the team that put together the donation, and while we were talking...
Go ahead, sir, and speak into the microphone, and tell us your name, too.
Hi, I'm Dean Carter, and I'm on the executive team with Patagonia, and so I represent the CEO, Rose Marcario, and this is the rest of the members, and we were... a couple of us were deeply impacted by the mudslides, our homes, and so it was not just personal for Patagonia, but... we appreciated the help, and so we were glad to help. And even during the conversation, Amanda was saying, we have wetsuits. So we have some wetsuits ready for you if you need wetsuits. But we are so deeply appreciative and glad to do our part for this community that we love so much and are a part of.
We thank you. Thank you, sir.
I want to say one more thing about Patagonia. So during the Thomas Fire, which I didn't mention earlier, I came into the incident command post one morning, and there was a big truck backed up to the incident command post. I'm like, what's this? It's out of place, not supposed to be here. What's going on? And there's about 30 of the firefighters unloading box after box after box, and it was from Patagonia, and they donated literally tens of thousands of dollars worth of clothing, jackets, pants, shirts, etc., to the firefighters. So just another example of how they care for the community.
Thank you. Ma'am, you had a comment?
Hi, I'm Amanda Coper, Vice President of Planning and Merchandising at Patagonia. And just to this bigger impact that what we learned throughout all the events of the past few months is the use of the waders, which were obviously intended for fishing, but that they serve this other purpose. And we're a global brand, and so now we've worked with our other regions on how do we get waders and these different products to other fire departments and rescue services so that they can be used in the same way. So we learned through the process as well. Thank you.
Thank
Would it be
you.
okay if we got a quick picture? He wore special fire department shirt.
Oh, yes,
for
please.
A photo, if that would be okay. Would you do- Just stand up and I'll get a picture with you guys. Okay, really fast. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right.
It's okay. We don't like getting our picture taken either.
Thank you. Does the gentleman from Direct Relief want to come up? We'd like to thank you too, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council. My name is Damon Tower. I'm the Director of U.S. Programs at Direct Relief. Not much that we can say other than to thank the first responders working with Chief Waldron, Chief Hickman, and Chief Peterson. We've been able to donate close to $500,000 worth of equipment and supplies to the various fire and Sheriff Brown Search and Rescue's team as well. So it's a privilege. It's a wonderful community we live in. We're normally a medical response organization, worked very closely with Santa Barbara Public Health Department in a vaccination effort, but then given the magnitude of the disaster, being local in our community, wanted to do something more, and connecting with Chief Waldron and his crew here, it felt like a good fit for us. So it's been a real privilege to be able to support their work, and a huge thank you to the first responders for their work in our recovery effort. So thanks.
Thank you. So on behalf of our residents and the residents of Montecito, thank you all very much. Mr. Kalan, do we need a motion to accept the donations?
Yes, and the only comment I have on that is that Patagonia waders are way too good for mud. So I understand the sentiment and appreciate it, but it pains me.
Thank you for that. Mr. Hart, you have a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to accept these generous gifts on behalf of the community. Last night, I was at a lecture at UCSB where Nicholas Kristof was here talking, and he was talking about the things he's been involved in globally and the challenges the world faces. And the really neat part of this program was that there was a town hall afterward that talked about our resiliency in Santa Barbara and the local response to this disaster and how people have come together in so many different ways. And it was really interesting to see his absorbing this and integrating this into what he's been doing, globally, working around the planet on things, and being inspired by the sense of community, the sense of collaboration, the caring that we have for each other. It was really an incredible moment, and this is another part of that. So thank you all for being so generous, helping others, helping ourselves, and helping our community get through this really tough time.
Thank you. There's a long motion. Is there a second? Second for Mr. Dominguez. Any other comments? All in favor? Aye. Very good. That was unanimous. Thank you. So we have a short agenda today. We are rescheduling item number 17, and we'll move to committee assignment reports or events that you've attended in the last week to my colleagues. Mr. Friedman, go ahead first. Thank you.
This past Saturday, I attended the Child Abuse Listening and Mediation Annual Authors Luncheon, supporting a great organization in Calm. Attended Earth Day office hours like some of my colleagues up here. And I think that's everything.
Thank you. Ms. Sneddon?
Let's see. First, Earth Day. What an incredible event. Mm-hmm. And I stopped by our city booth, and I loved all of the things that we had there. I got soil and bags for my produce, and my kids played a game there, and I was really proud of our city representation in Earth Day. I also attended, on that same day, a poetry reading at the Santa Barbara Museum of Art with poetry in the schools with students, and my daughter read a poem, but at the end, incredibly powerful, they showed a poem that Sawyer Rhodes, the debris flow victim, was in that poetry class, and they read her poem about a girl who had been lost in a fire, but was at one and at peace with the world, and it was very moving and beautiful. And I would hope that we can get a copy of that for the council to read. It's really nice. We also attended Hannah Beth Jackson and Monique Limon's event to honor outstanding women first responders. Quite a few of us were there, and honoring our own Chief Lanau and Woman of the Year also, our former Mayor former Mayor Helene Schneider. Water Commission meeting. A lot of it was in our board packet today, the integrated water management MOU, and also working on a water main replacement strategy and timeline to be integrated with when we're also working on roads and long-term planning. We have quite a few pipes that we need to stay ahead of. Some of them are from the late 1800s, so a lot that we need to plan for. At MTD, their first last mile is it's successful. Ridership is up on that. There was a little bit of dip when the train was late, but ridership's back up again, and they are holding those buses until the train arrives. So even if the train is off schedule a little, the buses will be there. Just anecdotally, they said that maybe 75% of people, when they came off the train, then walked to their next destination, didn't get on the bus. So that was sort of an interesting extra. And also attended the Coast Village Road Association just to hear concerns about they're having some cars parking in the median there and some other issues, but we're in communication. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dominguez.
I attended, Mr. Christoph was at the City Library earlier than at UC, and so I attended that event, and it was inspirational, as was indicated. I was also at the Senator Jackson and Monique Limon's, Assemblywoman Limon's award ceremony, and that was great to see so many local heroes get recognition. Several of us were at the Jardín de las Rosas opening last week, affordable housing center, and I went to Roosevelt Elementary School and participated in their Roosevelt Reads program, and that was great. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I would like to congratulate the Community Environmental Council for a successful Earth Day, and our Public Works staff and Environmental Services staff for being there. I attended earlier that day a community cleanup on the east side. It was the Arts Alliance, our youth apprenticeship program, and Anacapa School students. So I'd like to thank them for coming out and cleaning around the Franklin Center. I was also at Jardín de las Rosas. That was heartfelt testimony from one of the residents who had been living in a studio with her 2 kids and now has a full-size apartment to raise her kids. The SB CAG meeting last week, the big announcement was that Judge Anderle has finished with his review of the environmental document related to the widening of Highway 101. So that project has now got a green light to go ahead. And tonight is the opening of the Fair and Expo. I think we all got invitations. So we get a little perk. We get to go to the fair tonight. So that's it. Anything else? We're going to adjourn this meeting pretty early today. So thank you, staff, for helping. Meeting adjourned.